The Lac Qui Parle Wildlife Management Area in western Minnesota features 24,000 acres of grasslands, home to an abundance of native plant and bird species. The area became public lands in the 1930s when eminent domain transferred private property around Lac Qui Parle Lake to the state as part of a flood control project. Upstream, the Minnesota River was dammed, which created Marsh Lake. The state-owned conservation lands eventually became a wildlife management area, state park, and game refuge. For decades, DNR crews have conducted prescribed burns on WMA lands to rejuvenate grasslands. Because native prairie plants have roots that reach down 10 feet or more, they survive fire. Shallow-rooted invasive plants do not. Some native species even need fire to germinate, so a controlled burn brings new life to a prairie. In 2017, Walt Gessler and his daughter Thea were hiking through the Lac Qui Parle WMA after a spring burn when they discovered an unusual plant.
My daughter happened to find that we were out hiking, and she pointed at this sunflower plant from the year before, and it looked like there was pipe cleaner wrapped around it. A rather large pipe cleaner. I looked at it and said, what the heck is this? And I wasn't sure, and well, she took it back to Iowa State, and where she goes to college, and had it identified, and did a little more reading on it and thought, well, that's kind of an interesting thing to see.
It turned out to be a native rope daughter plant that makes its living on another plant's stem.
Apparently it's an annual plant that seems to be, at least the stuff I've seen around here, is associated with sunflowers, and it seems to be associated with some sort of a disturbance like prescribed burning. I think the seed was there, but I think that probably the burn exposes the litter and the duff, and the soil's exposed, and the seed starts to grow if the conditions are right. This spring, we did a prescribed burn on our Osmundson tract, and it was quite common after that prescribed burn. The main objective of the plant is to find a host, and then once the growing stem finds a host, then the root basically ceases to exist, and it just draws all of its resources from the host plant. Initially, when it's first growing, it's going to be like a yellow vine. It can be quite abundant, and it's growing and it's wrapping around the stems of the host plant. And then as it comes to a stage when it's flowering, it doesn't have leaves. It's just a single yellow stem, so it needs the plant to get its chlorophyll. If it was green, it wouldn't be needing the chlorophyll because it would be making its own.
The rope daughter gets its common name from the plant's tiny white flowers that form a dense coil around a host plant's stem.
When it flowers, it'll be really a solid, almost a solid stem of just white flowers wrapped around it, and those flowers will get pollinated and produce a seed, which will drop to the ground, and then once it's mature, it dies, and you're left with the brown fuzzy wrapper on the stem. There's a lot of species of dodder in the world. So there are nine species of dodder that are known in the state. 3 were documented historically. You don't see it very often. If you go like to Michigan or Ohio, and in those states it's considered at least threatened because a lot of their prairies are gone. So in that case, it's become a situation where they've lost habitat. At one time, prairies represented a large segment of the landscape in Minnesota, and for remnant prairies in Minnesota, we're down to our last 1%. So it's really become very rare, and remnant prairie is a very unique and special habitat in this state. Prescribed burning for prairie species, it stimulates the prairie and the plants that are found in it to actively grow. They know there's evolved with fire for centuries, and the fire stimulates that growth. It releases nutrients, which the plants take advantage of, There's exposed soil, so the plants over time have evolved to release and produce more seeds after a fire that can take advantage of these situations where seed sites are available. There's an incredible seed bank down there, especially in these remnant prairies, and how and when things grow is sometimes even a surprise to us.
Funding for this program was provided by the Minnesota Environment and Natural Resources Trust Fund. Live Wide Open. The more people know about West Central Minnesota, the more reasons they have to live here. More at livewideopen.com. Western Minnesota Prairie Waters, where peace, relaxation, and opportunities await.